Hey there and welcome to Hardcore Sustainable. Today I wanted to do a video about how I keep cool in my house in the summertime. Now in Missouri we can get, in the hundreds in the summertime. This hasn't been quite so bad a summer as far as that extreme, but it has been hot for a lot of the summer. And air conditioning is one of the biggest contributors to climate change and resource consumption. And so if we can all minimize our use of air conditioning as much as possible, we'll have a huge impact on climate. So if you think about it, the hotter the earth gets, the more you need air conditioning, and then the more you use air conditioning, the hotter you're making the climate. So it's this vicious cycle, and it's just not a good idea. But there are a lot of simple things that I do and that you can do easily to help keep yourself cool without using air conditioning. So just like the passive solar design of my house keeps it warm in the wintertime because it's got a lot of windows on the south side and the sun can shine in and heat up the house that way, it's also designed to keep the sun out in the summertime so that I can keep it cooler. You can see I've sized these roof overhangs on the south side of the house to prevent the sun from coming in at times of the year when I don't want sun coming in. But there's also a lot of things that you can do around the outside of your house to keep it cool and prevent the heat from being able to penetrate your house and make it hotter inside. So that's kind of what we're going for first, and I have a bunch of different things that I've been working on and some more things that I need to do still. So it is about 10 o'clock in the morning in mid-September, and at this time of year I start to get a lot more sunlight hitting the south side of my house, and so it can come in through the windows. And so obviously I have the thermal curtains, which also help to keep the heat in the wintertime. They also help to keep the cool in and the heat out in the summertime. So you can see that thermal curtain is down. I do have a window air conditioner. I try to minimize my use of that as much as possible. But you can see how the sunlight is hitting the back of the house here. It's also hitting the east side of the house pretty extremely. So you can see this whole east side of my house is getting a lot of sunlight on it, heating up that side of the house. I do have straw bale walls, but anything that I can do to stop heat being on the outside of my house is better. That side is relatively light colored, so it's going to reflect a lot of the heat, but there's other things that I can do. Like I've got these grapevines here, and I've trained a portion to go up on the roof, and that's another method that I'm using to keep the roof from heating up. In the future I plan to have grapes growing all across the top of my roof, and they will catch the sunlight and prevent it from hitting the roof and keep it cooler. But I could also train some of these grapes to block the sunlight from hitting this side of the house, and that will prevent the house from heating up in the morning. I don't have a lot of glazing. I don't have a lot of windows on that east side, so it's not coming in to heat up the house. But then I've got this south side here that during the middle of the day it gets a lot of sunlight on it at this time of year because of the sun's angle. During the middle of summer, most of the summer, the sun is overhead, or it's even a little bit north of the house. And so really all this is getting is shade, so I don't have to worry about the sun hitting the house and heating up the walls. My south side also does not have as much insulation on it, so if I can prevent the sun from hitting it in the first place, that's ideal. Now, there's different ways that I could do that. I could put up an awning here to block the sunlight from hitting it. I could train some kind of annual vines, or like hops vines that grow, really tall during one season, and train them up so that they're blocking the sun from hitting this side. And so in the afternoon there's just a lot of sun that hits the west side of my house, and it really gets hot over here. And if I can prevent that from happening, that would be ideal. And what I plan to do is plant some vine like hops over here. I could also plant some grapes on this side as well, and then train those up the side of the house to block the sunlight. So there's various things that I can do to I don't want to plant trees on this side. It might seem like an obvious thing to do that, but what we're looking for here is things that will grow only during one season, because we want them to be down during the wintertime so they don't block the sun from going inside the house and heating it. So that's ideal. Like if I planted a bunch of trees over here to shade this part of the house, then those trees would still be there in the wintertime and they would block the passive solar from going in and heating the house. This year I purchased this simple sunshade and I put it up here to keep this area a little bit cooler and make it a nicer space for hanging out and working. I work at this table sometimes outside. Banjo also likes to sit here in the mornings, and that gives her a little bit of nice shade to cool off in, because if this was not here, this would just be really hot right now, and it's actually pretty comfortable right now, even though it's supposed to be, I think, a high of 90 today. This is also another option for that south side. I could put a couple of sunshades out there, and they would block the sun from hitting that side of the house. So let's go inside and see what I've got going on in here. So it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, and you can see I've got some sunlight coming in the window here, coming in maybe to right there on the table. Now in the middle of the day, that's going to be coming in even more, and so I just put down my thermal curtain to deal with that. And this is an insulated curtain, so not only does it keep the sunlight out, it's actually holding the cold in. So that's really the key to keeping your house cool in the summertime, is to open everything up at night, because usually the night temperatures are pretty cool compared to the daytime temperatures. Like right now, today, it's supposed to be a high of 90 degrees today, but it might go down to like the mid to low 60s at night, and that's perfect temperature. And if I can open this place up, use a fan to draw all that cold in, cool the place off, then first thing in the morning, as soon as it gets warmer outside than it is inside, put up all the windows, put down my thermal curtains, keep it dark in here. Sometimes I'll open up just enough to let the natural light in so that I can work and see where I'm going in here, but mostly be trying to hold that cool in. And yesterday I did this and was watching the temperature, and now it's 72 degrees inside, and yesterday by 3 o'clock it had gotten up to about 80. So it does warm up. And I think if I take those measures to keep the sunlight off of the house during the daytime, keep the roof cooler, keep all the walls cooler, it's not going to heat up that fast, and it's not going to heat up that much. So I'll already have gone a long way towards retaining some of that cool temperature in here. And at 3 o'clock yesterday, I turned on the AC. It was getting pretty stuffy in here. It also tends to be a lot more humid inside than it is outside. And that's because you're just you're trapping the air. There's a lot of moisture that is created inside of a house. Also, when it's cooler, you can get condensation because the warm air from outside comes in, and then it condenses, and then you can have mildew problems. So that's something we have to deal with here. And I got this air conditioner not just because I wanted to stay cooler in the summertime, but because it deals somewhat with the humidity issue in here, and it keeps it less humid, and I don't have as many problems with mildew. But there are other things that you still have to do to try to ameliorate the mildew situation. So you can see here that it is 72 degrees inside, 80 degrees outside, 74% humidity outside, 76 inside. And I suspect that this humidity is going to go down in the middle of the day, because it just seems to naturally get drier during the day outside. This is probably going to go down if I turn the air conditioner on, but if not, it's going to stay at that rate. It's 10 o'clock. So we'll come back and we'll check that out periodically throughout the day, with me trying to keep the house cool. Even when I do use air conditioning in my house, my power is generated by solar panels. So it is all solar. So it is an appliance that takes up a lot of resources, but if I can make it last a long time and I can operate it with totally renewable energy, then I'm not having as much of an impact on climate change as air conditioning normally would. And if I'm minimizing my use of it, I'm trying to live within the capacity of my power system. And so right now I have the figures and I'm still netting 80 kilowatt hours for the year. So even with quite a bit of air conditioner use, because it's been a hot summer, I'm still coming out ahead with 4 panels, solar panels, and 840 watts of solar capacity. And I'm still producing a net positive 80 that I'm putting into the grid. So that's pretty good, considering all the energy consumption that I do. And also, when I'm using the air conditioner, I'm trying to use it only during the daytime when I'm getting a lot of solar power generated by my solar panels.
So it is 2 o'clock now, and you can see how much sun is coming in. It's falling on the floor in a pretty wide strip. And the temperature in here is now 78, and it's 94.6 outside. The humidity has gone down, you can see, and it's gone up a little bit in here. I have yet to turn on the AC, but when this gets up to like 80, I probably will turn on the AC and try to bring down the humidity a bit. And the temperature in here is now 78, and it's 94.6 outside. The humidity has gone down, you can see, and it's gone up a little bit in here. I have yet to turn on the AC, but when this gets up to like 80, I probably will turn on the AC and try to bring down the humidity a bit. Even banjo's getting hot. It's too hot.
So if I were using my air conditioner overnight, I'm not generating any power at night. I'm just taking it off of the grid because the grid is serving mostly as my battery bank. So if I'm using the air conditioner when my panels are generating some power, then that power is coming into my system and it's being used directly by my air conditioner. So that's great, because that means it's all being powered by renewable energy. So that's my goal. You're trying to minimize your overall power use, but if you got to use power, you're going to try to use it during the day when you're actually generating that power through your solar panels and using it directly. Because if you're using it at night, you're either drawing it off your battery system if you're off-grid, or you're drawing it from the grid, which is less than ideal, because our grid power here is generated by and large by coal.
And if you're a dog, the best way to stay cool is to find a nice cool earthen floor to lay on and sprawl yourself out so that you can get as much of your body contacting the cool floor as possible. That's what Banjo recommends. So the air conditioner has brought the temperature down to 77 and 65% humidity, so it's dropped almost 10% humidity. Still 90 degrees outside. It's getting a little more humid. This air conditioner is really only made for about 250 square feet, which is pretty much about half the size of my house. And it definitely does cool down the lower floor, but it doesn't really cool off the upstairs because obviously heat rises and the cold stays down on the first floor. So it doesn't do a lot to cool off the upper floor, so I just have to stay on my first floor for the hottest parts of the day. Right, so it's 7:22 at night. I ended up turning off the AC after about an hour and a half of being on, and it's 78 degrees inside and it's 81 outside. I think I can open up the windows now because it's such low humidity outside compared to inside that I think it's actually going to be more comfortable to have the windows open. So I'm going to do that. So something that I kind of neglected to mention was the importance of the ceiling fan and this whole system of keeping cool. I usually turn on the ceiling fan throughout the day when it's warmer, getting warmer in here, and the AC is not on. I also use it when the AC is on, but it's just nice to have this moving the air around when the AC is on, also blowing on me, and so I try to stay within the range of the ceiling fan. That's all part of
this whole system of staying cool. And these ceiling fans, you know, the power consumption varies depending on the speed that you set them at, but I think that they use less power than a box fan, although that's another option. So you just want to get the air moving around and blowing on you so that you can make use of the evaporative cooling effect of sweat. Ceiling fan here, one upstairs too for the nighttime to get the air moving around or to just keep me cool.
All right, so it's morning again, and temperature in here is down to 71.7 again. Humidity's up, although the humidity's up outside as it usually is in the morning or in the evening and night. So we start all over again. So that is essentially how I keep my house cool in the heat of summer using minimal air conditioning and minimal power. Now, it's not always going to work to open everything up at night. If you have a really hot night, a muggy night, and usually they're cloudy, opening everything up will not help. So it's going to be a little bit cooler, but if it's 80 degrees out at night, it's not going to make a huge difference. But it's just times like that when if you want to stay cool, you're probably going to need to use some air conditioning. And I can't really stress enough how much of a difference you can make if you just use some of these simple methods to keep your house cooler, as far as reducing your power consumption and the amount of AC that you need to use during the heat of summer. And you know, when it's really hot out, you go into a grocery store and it's like they make it so cold in there that you want to put on a winter coat. You can't do anything about that, but you do have control over how much AC you use. And it is kind of crazy that in a lot of places they make it so cold that you're actually cold being inside a space in the hottest days of summer. That is the source of the problem. But all these businesses don't want people to come in there and think, oh, it's really too warm for me in here, so they just try to make it as cold as possible. And I don't know why they don't get more complaints about it being too cold. And this is where all our fossil fuel is going, is making grocery stores and other businesses too cold in the middle of the heat of summer to actually be comfortable in. It's just kind of crazy how our economy is so unsustainable, and it just sort of drives itself to being more and more unsustainable. And the point I'm trying to make is that we all have power. We can all make a difference if we change these little things about the way that we live. And here at Dancing Rabbit, we've reduced our impact by about 90% compared to the average American. So that's a huge difference, just implementing these simple techniques. And I wouldn't say that we're living in squalor. We're living pretty good lives still. We're just taking advantage of science and technology, and also not just modern science and technology, but old technology and old science, old ways of thinking. But it's not just taking advantage of science and technology, it's working together. Community is a huge part of this. Like, you can make your lives so much more sustainable if you just share with other people. And that's what this channel is about, is it's about sharing information. And so if you've got any comments and you want to talk about anything in the comment section, this is sort of a give and take, and let me know, and we'll talk about it. We'll start a discussion. All right, this has been a pretty long video, so I'll just say subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done that. Share and give a thumbs up to the video. Visit the Facebook page and hardcoresustainable.com, and I'll see you soon.